Everybody, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed, the television edition. I'm your host, Matt Connarton. We have a very interesting show for you today. John Hopwood will be co-piloting for me momentarily. He's going to be right back. He had to go and put some money into the meter, so you don't want to get a ticket from the Manchester parking enforcement or patrol or whatever. So he's going to come back because we have a very interesting guest with us today, and John will definitely have some insight into this topic because it's something that he's written quite a bit about. But we have with us Janet Delfuoco?
Yes.
Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
I was practicing on my way here.
Very good. I'm impressed.
Thank you. So, Janet, welcome.
Thank
And you have quite a story to tell.
Yes.
And I did watch the video of, I listened to it. I'm sorry. First, I listened to you were on Mike Gill's show, State of Corruption.
Yep.
Which we do carry now on IPM Nation on Fridays. And so he interviewed you, and that was very, very interesting. And then I also watched, I didn't get to watch the whole thing, but you were also on Kevin Avard's show.
Yep, Senator Avard.
Talking about all this too. So your story is interesting because, I mean, for one thing, obviously it involves a lot of the fraud and corruption that we've been talking about a lot around here. And in fact, we had Mike Gill on here a few weeks ago. And his company, The Mortgage Specialist, is now sponsoring us. So we're
I saw that. Very good.
We're very happy about that too. Yeah, he's a good guy. He's fighting the good fight. He had to spend that 10 days in jail for the contempt.
Right.
And that was, I don't know if you heard the show that he did where he explained all of that after he got out, but it's pretty emotional. It
is. I'll be honest with you, though. I wish somebody would throw me in jail for 10 days. I'd give anything to lose 28 pounds after all of this because I've gained amounts of weight, and I'm like, wow, I'd like to go to jail,
Just what, because of stress?
The stress.
Oh, yeah.
It's been stressful. What I've been fighting against this judicial system in the government and just the state alone, it's been unbearing. Yeah,
because you've got the mortgage fraud problem. And you've got something in family court. Is that resolved?
No, that was never resolved. The result of that was I ended up losing my son because of the mortgage fraud. One of them.
Wow.
I lost one of them completely. I have restraining order against me because of it. The judge said I'm angry. Yeah. But yet I have full custody of my 14-year-old. It didn't make sense. Yeah, it didn't make sense at the time. It still doesn't make sense. When your son lives 3 blocks away from you and you're not even allowed to say hi to him.
Oh, wow.
It's stress.
That has to be very difficult.
It's
stress. Is there kind of a third tier to all of this too, or is it?
The banking department won't investigate. They said that Granite State Credit Union did nothing wrong, but yet now Frank Alderbert's actually involved because he went to the last hearing with me against Granite State. And he turned around, he called the banking department. He says, I think you need to do a full investigation. They won't even return his calls. Yeah. And they won't return mine. And then we found out, and Mike Gill actually said this before on State of Corruption more than once, the banking director, who was that? Is that Foley or something like that? Is also Granite State CFO now.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, imagine that.
No kidding. Has Mike been able to help you on the show? When I heard him interview you, he was going to...
What Mike did was, I met Mike a long time ago when all this was going on and he first started getting big. He says, you bring me in all those documents. He goes, I do own the mortgage specialist. You know Mike, right? I own the mortgage specialist. And I went in and I showed him everything. And he said, Janet, this is predatory lending. He goes, forget about the bank fraud part of it. He goes, the bank fraud's very clear. He goes, but what Granite State Credit Union did to you is predatory lending. And he goes, and I cannot believe nobody in the government has done anything. He gave me a whole list of people to contact. I ended up contacting the National Credit Union Administration. They did an investigation. They can't even get an internal investigation because they found out that Granite State Credit Union is a state-ran bank.
Okay. You know what's funny, too, is whenever you hear credit union, or at least this has always been my perception, and I've never had an account with a credit union, but I always hear people say, oh, credit unions are so much better than a regular bank. Always go to a credit union if you can. Credit unions are great, but sounds like that's not necessarily always the case. And the predatory lending, tell me if I'm correct about this. When I hear the phrase predatory lending, I think of when a bank or a credit union, or a mortgage company or whatever, when they get you a loan that they know the terms, the rates, whatever. You see this in with car loans too. The rate is unfair. Something about it is unfair, and you're going to end up underwater with this. But they kind of push it on you anyway.
Well, what happened? Well, I think we should probably tell the viewers what happened from the beginning.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, they're like, what are they even talking about? Well, how does she even know?
Let's go to the beginning. Yeah, yeah.
So what ended up happening is my ex-husband became homeless. We'd been over for years. His girlfriend kicked him out, and he was homeless. He was living nowhere. How
long had you been apart?
Oh, years.
Oh, okay.
Probably 4 or 5 years we were over. I had bought the house from him in 2007. He moved out in 2008, moved in with his girlfriend. Yes, he lived with me for a year. I'm a really nice person. I'm not nice no more. I'm not nice anymore. I can tell you that one.
Well, wait, but this part's important. So you bought the house from him?
I bought the house from him in 2007, yes.
You bought out his share of it, or how does that work?
Yeah, I bought him out, so it was my house.
Okay.
So he moved in with his girlfriend in 2008. In 2010, we finally got off our butts and we filed the legal separation paperwork for the divorce. Everything was enlisted in 2010. It said in the divorce decree in 2010, it's her house. She bought it from him. She's free and clear. He has to remove his name, off the title by 2011, 2012. It was my house. I bought it from him. I gave him money for the house. It was my house. Okay, end of story.
Yeah.
He went, because he was homeless, he says to me, I don't like living like this. I didn't like my kids seeing him living like this in a camper, in a campground. I felt really bad. I felt really guilty.
Well, now how many kids? Two, okay.
And at that time, they were young. They were only 10 and 11 at that time.
So let's back up a little bit. So at the point where, because I know family court comes into this later too, at the point where he initially left, but you weren't even legally separated yet, right? He left. Was he able to see the kids?
All the time. We had the perfect separation.
Okay, so everything was cool at that point. Everything was amicable.
Yeah. Oh, it was very amicable. We were just done. I was just done. I was done. It was just over. There was none of this bitter. I was just done. We were both done. But more so me. I was just done. Time for him to move out.
Okay.
So he moved in with a girlfriend, and they broke up for the same reasons me and him broke up. And again, he was homeless. He came to me. He says to me, "I'd like to get a mobile home in the trailer park down the road from the house. I want to be with the kids more." The kids were really young. I thought it was a great idea. I really did.
Sure.
Because we were amicable. Everything was going well.
Yeah.
He told me he was going to take out a loan for 1 year against my house as collateral. And then he was going to take it off because I guess Granite State had another program with another affiliate where you could take a mobile home loan out, okay? But he needed to build up his credit for something to live there.
Wait a second. Okay, so he said he was going to take out a loan against...
the house. My house was going to be used as collateral,
even though he no longer had any claim to it in terms of ownership?
Correct.
And that's... you can do that?
Wow. Apparently with Granite State Credit Union, you can.
Okay.
So what ended up happening is he goes in, he fills out all the paperwork, gets the application, they give him the approval. He says to me, "Can you just come in and sign off on it?" And I said, "Okay." I go in. I literally sign one document.
Yeah.
And the girl says to me, "It's only so you can know that he's taking the loan out on the house." I'm like, all right, I figure, and he's telling me the truth. Why would he lie? Why would any of this be happening, okay?
Yeah.
I sign the paper, I leave. 6 months later, everything broke up. Everything of my little fairy happy house, a great divorce, just exploded. He stopped paying on the part that he was supposed to give me towards my mortgage because I was supposed to refinance my house at that point too. Remember I said during the separation he had to take his name out of the title and I had to refinance. I was about to refinance. I just graduated college. I was getting more stable. I was going to refinance. I says to him, "I'm going to refinance the house. The loan needs to come off. You've got to start looking." And all of a sudden he stops paying my mortgage, helps me with my mortgage payment, which was part of our agreement. And then
that was in the separation or the divorce?
Yeah, that was all. It was all part of the agreement. So then he decides he's going to just completely stop. This is where his little game came into play of bank fraud.
Yeah.
I sue him in court. I win a huge judgment against him. In family court now, he's fighting me. He's trying to get custody of both my sons. The man walked out in 2008 and left me with 2 toddlers practically. But now all of a sudden he wants my children.
But so prior to that, so you sued him over his stopping paying,
right?
In terms of what he was obligated to in the agreement. So
Right.
then you sued him and you won.
Yep, and I never saw a penny.
Right.
To this day, I still haven't seen a penny.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So how long after that did he then take you? So he took you
He was
next
doing
to
this.
family court?
This was all going on at the same time. Family
Wow.
court. Oh, it was all the same time. I mean, I was dying.
That's incredible.
And my oldest moved out. He ended up going with his father. His father was manipulating him. He ended up going with his father.
Mm-hmm.
I was fighting with the judge about it, saying, this is what he's doing. This is why he's trying to grab my kids. The whole family dynamics is now completely over. I don't have my oldest son. I'm not allowed to see him. He has full custody of him. He doesn't see the youngest one anymore. The youngest hates him, won't have anything to do with him. Now in court at this point, so we're up to the present time. I'm in court with him. I sue him in civil court. I have to find out all this documentation, okay? I'm filing complaints with the banking department. I go to the governor's office. I go to everyone and anyone that can listen to me.
Yeah.
The banking department writes back with Granite State's response that says, well, they sent me some of the paperwork, and on it said James Goad and Janet Delfuoco Goad of, and our address. I said, what do you mean of? What does of mean? I went to college. I know sentence structure.
Yeah.
So I'm like, of. So then I'm like, okay, what is this of? So I started asking them more questions about it, and I wrote to the banking department, and I said, what is this of? Well, Granite State's response was, well, it doesn't mean anything. And I said, well, we weren't married at that time. We were getting divorced.
Right.
He didn't own the house. And they wrote back, oh, no, it was a clerical error. We didn't need for him to say that. Our clerk said that she thought you were there. Okay? This is the best part right now.
Yeah.
I sue him in court, and I get everything. I put a huge list of documentations that I want from him, from the bank, because the bank won't release anything to me. They've refused, okay? I have to keep going to court to sue everybody to get what I want.
Right.
They send me the application, the mortgage, everything that goes with all of this with the mortgage on the application. And I don't know if you saw this on my court, because I've now been actually taping my hearings with Judge Anderson and Granite State. I've been taping the hearings.
Oh, I did see that video. I kind
Did
of
you see that video?
didn't quite understand exactly
Okay.
what was happening there, but
During that video, I held up the application and I said, okay, he writes James Goad of my, puts down my address, says it's his primary residence. He's
Right.
living there. It's where he's going to reside, and the equity loan was for him towards that house.
so as though it sounds as though
Right?
he not only still owned the house, but as though he were even still living
He
there.
was still living
even though
there.
it had been how many years since he'd even
What,
lived there?
5, 6,
Yeah.
7 years? Okay. Oh, yeah. So that's what he said. He also wrote
Come on
other
in, John.
things on the application saying that
Welcome back.
he didn't pay child support. He'd never filed bankruptcy. They didn't even do a credit check. He'd filed bankruptcy 2 years prior to that for like thousands, like over $80,000.
Yeah.
So he didn't pay child support, and he did. He pays me $800 a month. So
Right.
the whole application was fraudulent. Now, mind you, I never saw any of the documentation. I was a fool. Everyone says to me, well, you were stupid. Why did you just walk in there and sign the last page? I thought I was trusting him. I thought the bank had the facts. I thought the bank did the background check, everything. The bank came back, and they says to me, well, we looked at the deed. His name's still on the deed. I said, what do you mean his name's on the deed? His name's not supposed to be on the deed. It was supposed to be transferred to me in 2011. Here's the documentation.
Yeah.
He never did it.
Okay.
He never did it.
Okay.
So besides all of that, I says, well, why didn't you check his work record? Why didn't you check his license? Why didn't you check anything?
Right.
Because he's still saying that he owned the house. And yet you're going to the banking department, telling the banking department that he never said any of that, and I have proof that they said that to the banking department. So now that I'm out and I'm exposing everybody with all these videos,
Yeah.
banking department won't even touch it. So that's where Mike Gill came in, and Mike Gill looked at it. Because what happened at that point now is I had to refinance my house.
Yeah.
Nobody would touch it because of that equity loan on my house, unless I rolled that equity loan into my house. Now, mind you, my house is already going into foreclosure with my original mortgage company because I'm trying to refinance it like I was supposed to do it, but nobody will touch it because of the equity loan.
Right.
I'm not paying his equity loan because of what he did.
Right.
So I'm going back and forth with the credit union. I'm like, please, I'm crying, I'm begging them, please take the loan off. I have other mortgage companies that are willing to take me on at 2.7%. I have another one that's willing to give me, a 0 interest rate for this many years. I have all these great offers. Granite State, no, we're not taking it off. That's not our problem.
Yeah.
So 6 months prior to that, as all this was happening, before I knew about this, I had gone to them also because I had a truck loan with them. Now, that also doesn't make sense to me. My truck loan was also at this address. So here they have two people saying they both live at this address, but yet we're legally separated and we're getting divorced. So they never asked why was going on.
Right.
He turns around and he gets the loan. The loan has to stay on the house. I get a 2.73%, 9.50 month rate for Granite State years, okay? 9 years, the house would be paid off. They now know what I'm in for. They now know I'm sinking, and I'm sinking fast.
Right. Right.
Guess what my new interest rate is with my new mortgage that they held a gun to my head and made me sign, or else I was going to lose my house?
I can only imagine.
6.75% at 15 years. I am 49 years old. I will not see that house paid off.
Wow. What was the original rate?
2.73.
Wow. Well, that's where the predatory part comes in, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they know I'm going to tank because they already know that I'm going to sell the house. They know I can't afford it anymore. I'm barely making my mortgage payments.
Right.
Barely.
Right.
And I've still, to this day, have begged and asked them just to take the equity loan off. So even when I sell the house, I have that extra $30,000. They won't do it.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm suing them.
Right. Right. I mean, it sounds like they collude. It's almost like, not that they would have intentionally done this by any means, but it almost sounds like they colluded with your husband.
They intentionally did all of it, if you ask
so?
me. I don't think they intentionally gave him the loan. I think they just gave him the loan because they saw at that time my house is worth $300,000 and I only owed $94,000 on it.
Right.
They're like, oh, what's a $30,000 loan? That's nothing.
Yeah.
So they just handed him the loan. But when they realized what he did, instead of going after, and that's what I even said in the court, if you saw that last video, I looked right at that attorney and I said, why haven't you ever gone after him for bank fraud? Why didn't you ever have him arrested? Why did you come after me?
Right.
And I says, and why are you still coming after
house.
me? I own the house.
Yeah.
But
I own the house with a $130,000 mortgage on it that includes his equity loan that can sell for $300,000 easy on the market.
Now, I missed the first part. Your husband took out a
Ex-husband,
but he was you were married to him at the time.
Yeah. No. We were getting divorced. We'd been legally separated for years.
But you were still married to him.
But we were legally separated.
The law is all technicalities.
No, it's not. But in the paperwork that I have, even in the legal separation paperwork that was signed in January of 2010 by Rockingham Court, it said that the house was mine and was issued me since 2007.
Right.
And by 2011, he had to have everything transferred over to me.
Well, that's the part John doesn't know is that,
Right.
is that
You came in on part of it.
You had bought him.
I had
out
already
of the
bought him
house.
out. I bought him out in 2007.
Now, did you have a relationship with this bank?
Yes, I had a truck loan with them originally beforehand.
But in the old days, you would know people at the bank, like
Right.
the branch
Right.
bank here.
Right.
Yeah, local
and
banks,
so did they know your husband too?
No. They
So
only
you're
knew
dealing
me.
with people that didn't really know you on a personal basis.
I would guess, yeah.
So
Yeah.
why would they just put his paperwork through without doing any due diligence?
I guess so. But you
Sounds
want to
like
know
it.
what the funnier
Yeah.
thing is as I was suing them for all the paperwork, okay? All of a sudden out came two pieces of paper that had my signature on it that I never signed. Remember I told you I admitted to signing one piece. The last page of the documentation of the mortgage, my
Right.
signature, they stamped it. You know what all of a sudden appealed after that? Out of nowhere, the right to cancel paper with only my name on it. No signature, no notary, no witness,
Really?
nothing. But all of a sudden, here it is, the
So
right
he
to cancel.
So he forged that?
I don't know who forged it. I'm not going to make any speculations.
I can
Yeah.
tell from personal experience. I used the handwriting expert that was the one that did in Dan Rather's career.
Yeah.
She didn't do me any favors. It's an art. It's not a science.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
forgeries.
You can
you-
actually look at all
right.
three of the papers because even Representative Elderbert and Mike Gill, everybody looked at all three of the
Well,
papers and they're like, "There's no way these two are your signature." They're like, "Good try, but
Until
no
you
way."
go right.
No kidding.
They'll say that to you, and then when the rubber hits the tar.
Right.
The thing is, people watch. I'd say that sometimes people watch television. I know my niece is in the health profession. She's a nurse. She can't watch medical shows. Watching legal stuff drives me nuts. I'm not a lawyer, but, legal editor, and I've worked with lawyers. And,
Yeah.
Because people think that justice has something to do with it.
No.
And,
no, justice has nothing. That's why I'm representing myself. Everyone's like, you need
fraud.
to get an attorney. And I says, why? So they can just turn on me and go with Granite State and their attorneys. I says, I know how corrupt this state is.
You know what I'm reminded of? Speaking of television, you ever watch All in the Family?
Yeah.
Do you know the episode where Archie wants to buy the bar and he's got to take out a loan? He's got to take out a loan against the mortgage of the house, and he forges Edith's signature on the document to get the loan. Yeah, eventually she forgives him.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Oh, I'm not forgiving him on this one
don't
because
blame
I
you.
can't afford the house and I have to sell the house.
I would say that you do need a lawyer, though.
Actually, I can't even find one to take it. And the
Really?
ones that want it want like a $5,000 to $10,000 upfront fee.
Of course they do.
I asked
Wow.
a bunch of them if they would do it on contingency, and they said
That's
no
not
way.
a contingency
Yeah,
thing.
see.
You have to
Wow.
pay.
And I can't
pay.
afford it. This bank has me right over the barrel with my mortgage, and they
Yeah.
knew it. My mortgage now is $200 higher than it was originally, 3 years ago.
Wow.
So
To your credit, though, I mean, you
it
sound
killed
like you're
my credit too. Killed my credit.
Or,
Right.
Yeah.
Slaughtered it.
Slaughtered it.
But
Just not killed it. It's
but
like
to,
roadkill.
but to your credit, a different kind of credit. It sounds like you're really on top of this.
Oh yeah, I'm
you're-
on top of this.
You're
if
a
you've
good advocate
seen,
for
if
yourself.
you've seen all of the videos of me in court, I'm
Yeah.
doing pretty good holding my own. Thank
Yeah,
you. I'm
yeah.
doing real good. As a matter of
Yeah.
fact, this last hearing, I still haven't got the judge's notice, and I called today or before I came over here, and he still hasn't made a decision if I'm going to trial or not.
Oh, no
But
kidding.
it was 18 pages long on why I should have a trial, predatory lending, and
Mm-hmm.
not seeing the documentation, bank fraud. They didn't do their job. They didn't
Yeah.
do their job. End of story. And they know they didn't do their job, and they can't even say that in court.
Right.
The lawyer just sits there and he's like, well, I don't know what to say. And it's like, well, I do. You guys didn't do your job. And
Right.
then my very last statement in court the other day was, I didn't even get to go to the mortgage company to sign on my new mortgage because I was so upset and I was in tears.
Yeah.
Do you know where they sent me to sign off on my new mortgage?
Where?
Clifford Gallant's office, the exact same lawyer that was now defending Granite State.
Really?
I went to his law office to sign off on the mortgage.
You're not a AAA
Wow.
member?
No.
You can go down and get free. I don't know where they are right now.
Yeah.
Here's a thing. This is a laissez-faire economy.
I know.
And, not to offend Matt's libertarianism, is when you have a state that's not regulated well, and the state isn't regulated
This state isn't
well,
regulated at all.
this happens.
Yeah.
You should see.
I agree.
I'll tell you the difference with we were talking about the mortgage fraud, about the mortgage fraud in the last decade.
Yeah.
Balloon notes. My father was a aluminum and then a vinyl siding salesman down south. He worked down south because there are no consumer protection laws. And he sold a lot of African Americans. And there were all sorts of predatory practices there. A balloon note was popular. And a mortgage that you have small payments, and then like on the 6th year you get hit with this big payment.
Right.
And the idea was everybody knew you're not
Right.
going to be able to do that. Then you seize the house, you sell it to another person that's tried to work their way up the
Yep.
ladder. It's a cycle that goes on. And my father, because the stories, he would have to go and do all this legal work. And there were people that would be selling the houses, and they'd think they'd own the house free and clear, and they'd have a lien on the house. And the old man, he liked to bamboozle the people down there as
Yeah.
much as he liked bamboozling customers.
Yeah.
And the thing was, flash forward, African Americans were preyed on.
Yeah.
Just like soldiers. Every base is surrounded by all these hucksters. They're going to sell you all this stuff on credit and things. And you financial losses. They're powerless and everything.
Yeah.
But you go to the first decade of this new millennium. Suddenly they're taking these loans that were only targeted towards poor, powerless people.
Yeah.
And they just started targeting them to all the middle class.
Right.
And the upper, even
created
the
the
upper class.
housing bubble. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, geez, now I can afford this tremendous house and
Is
everything.
that the same as a subprime loan? Is
Right,
that the
a
same thing?
subprime
Okay.
loan and a balloon note are very.
But you know what I don't
Yeah.
understand,
And,
and I went
it's
to
a
the
it's
attorney.
fraud.
It is fraud,
Yeah.
and I went to the
But
attorney
they
general's
changed the
office.
laws in order to do that.
Right,
Yeah.
but you know what? I'm still protected by all those laws, and I wrote up all those RSA laws in my claim
If they're
against
enforced.
them. Oh, well, that's the problem
If
right
they're
now.
enforced.
Is I'm trying to deal with the judges and everything else. I even went to the Attorney General's office, who I actually have a letter from, and Mike saw this, and so did Frank, where they turned it over to the federal prosecutor in this state, saying there's definitely bank fraud laws here that are broken. You know, this guy should be prosecuted. This bank should be prosecuted. Nobody will prosecute nobody.
Is the credit
That's
union
incredible.
state chartered or federal chartered?
State.
So then the feds aren't going to come.
No, because I've already checked on the
Right.
feds. But they could go after my ex-husband for filling out the falsified application for bank fraud.
Does he still live here in New Hampshire?
Oh, of course he does. He was three blocks from me.
And you would think believing in justice and the American way that they do it.
They won't.
You
I
could tell you some stories.
You would think Judge Anderson, who's actually overseeing my case, Granite State's case, my case against my ex-husband. I mean, he's definitely the tree of all the stems. I have one judge. He won't even throw him in contempt of court and throw him in jail or force it out of his pay. I've asked 7 times. I got this judgment against my ex-husband last July. 7 times I've asked for contempt of court, and the judge is like, no, you'll be all right. You'll be fine.
Now you're asking for that because he's refusing to pay?
He's refusing to pay me back.
Right.
And I mean, it was an agreement, and he's refusing to pay me back. And the judge won't do a thing about it.
Wow.
Yep. But everybody else I see gets thrown into court the minute they're in contempt of court.
Well,
Look at Mike. He just spoke out, and he got thrown in for 10 days.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the reasons. My friend Dave Colapinto, I said, Dave, I should have become a lawyer. He says, no, John, you'd have set records for contempt of court. And as I told Matt, when you're a lawyer, they hit you on Friday afternoon because you can't be bailed by Monday.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't.
Well, I'll make
lose
sure
your
none of
temper
my
in a court.
hearings are ever on Friday.
You can't lose your temper in a court. See, when you're buying a lawyer, you're buying his connections with the judge.
Right.
That's just the way it is. When you walk into a court, family, anything, they all know each other.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
You think that the law in this is going to do it. No, it's connections.
Everything's political in the end.
That's life.
Yeah.
But that's really unfair
And,
because, I'm a single
you
mom
make movies.
of a 14-year-old that makes an honest living in the state. I work with disabled children and adults.
Yeah.
And this has torn my whole entire family apart because family law judge and a criminal law judge won't do the jobs that they took an oath for. If I did anything wrong to any one of my clients in the nursing field, I'd be thrown in jail. I'd be on MUR. I'd be on the union leader.
Sure.
I'd be across the country. I'd be banned as the worst thing in the world if I did anything. But these judges are doing it. These credit unions are doing it. And everyone's like, oh, no, we can't say anything. I've been to MUR 3 times. I've been to the union leader. None of them will even cover the story.
Wow, no kidding.
They won't touch it.
I'm in shock.
Yeah.
They won't touch it.
I wanted to create a website. I probably should for people that have gone through things that you've been through, things that friends. I know somebody I was in the Army with. She goes off to Iraq because he kept sending everybody to Iraq. She's getting her PhD, and her girlfriend steals her house while she's gone with the connivance of a lawyer. And this is California, which is very well regulated. She couldn't get any sort of justice at all or
terrible.
anything. And the fact that she was a veteran, all these stories, it doesn't matter. And I think people that go through this get a form of PTSD.
No doubt. Yeah.
I've been talking about that, like the people like Dave, the clients going through this stuff.
Yeah.
I went through a estate battle in Connecticut. It's just unbelievable.
It's funny you say that because when I was in the hearing and you could hear me fighting with the judge against the lawyer and how this has affected me, the lawyer says, well, she has no proof this has even affected her emotionally or physically. I said, really? You want the 5 letters from the doctors? And I says, here's the first one with a full page of everything I'm going through from my primary care physician who listed every sign and symptom that I have had over the last couple of years because of what I'm going through. Because of it. And these are big conditions.
You're on top of it, though. Good for you.
I am on top of it because this is my house.
Yeah.
This is my house. And they did wrong and they needed to fix it. 3 years ago, I went to them and all I asked 3 years ago, take the loan off my house.
Right.
That's all they had to do. Take the loan. And they said it. They called me once about 6 months ago. And it was Galant's little assistant over there. And she says, I went to the board. She goes, I got an offer for you. I says, oh, yeah, what's the offer? We're going to take the loan off the house, but you have to sign confidentiality paperwork, and you can never talk about it again.
Why didn't you do that?
Why would I? And
because
I said,
that's the only way you're going to win.
No. I said,
Then
no, I'm
you
not going to
lose.
do it. But listen.
I had to sign confidentiality.
That's all right.
paperwork.
Listen, though. Listen to this, okay? But they also wanted me to take everything down off of Facebook. They didn't want me talking to Mike Gill anymore, Kevin Avart. Nobody.
If
I
you
wasn't
want your
allowed to
money,
talk about
that's
it.
how you're going to get it.
Well, I ended
That
up
is
deciding
standard.
saying no. I went to court and they sued me. They tried to put a gag order on me. And that's actually on YouTube too.
No,
is
wait,
that
But you
gag
see,
order.
I'm just going to say,
Yeah.
you're not going to get. You
I
have
won.
to sign the thing.
I won.
And what did you get?
They didn't get their gag order, and I'm sitting right here, ain't I?
No, well, but who was it?
I think you want your money.
Was it
I
the
want
credit?
that too.
Was it the credit union or the mortgage company? Wait, who wanted you to sign that?
The credit union,
credit
Granite
union.
State Credit Union.
Okay.
They
That's
wanted me
just
to sign
standard.
that.
Yeah.
And I said no, because what if I'm not alone? And you know what? I am tired
Well, I'm sure
of
you're
this
not alone,
state
yeah.
getting away with as much as they're getting away with. We
Yeah.
have big elections coming up. We have Maggie Hassan that I've written to 1,000,000 times about all of this. She's going to go represent our state on a federal level? Are you kidding me? Really? Maggie, do you understand what's going on here today? Do you understand
What
this?
would Ted
She
Gatsby do
doesn't
for
care.
you?
I have no idea.
Nothing.
But I'll tell
Right.
you right now, Frank Alderbert's been going to these hearings with me, and he's been making calls, and he actually
But-
called the banking department, and you know what? They won't even return his calls at
And
this
the
point.
other candidate's Chris Sununu. Chris Sununu likely would be governor, I would
Chris
Yeah.
Sununu actually put in a couple of these judges that we're all finding that shouldn't be in the
Oh,
first
okay.
place. So I think you should all take a better look at Chris Sununu,
No,
too.
I'm saying that.
Yeah.
I think there's somebody I was asking you about Sununu. Have you talked to him?
I've written to him, and a couple of my other friends have just written to him about this whole entire mess. So we're going to see what he
He's a
has
very
to
friendly
say,
and
too.
approachable person.
Well, I like Frank. Frank
he?
happens to be even more friendly and more approachable, and he's been right on top of this with me.
No, that's good.
We actually have something else coming out in the works that me, him, and about 5 other reps and some senators have been working on. We can't disclose it yet, but it's coming that we are
Okay.
going to try to bring in reform because this needs. You're like this.
Yeah.
You're talking
know?
about reform, about people that are not going to give you any reform. They're just going to talk to you about that. Do you think a Republican
You
like
don't-
Chris
you don't
Sununu
know.
is going to do anything for banking? Yeah, I do know.
You don't
because
know.
you use history.
Well, history's
I'll
about
tell you
to
this.
change.
I'll tell you this.
So that's why I'm voting for Mike Gill because he's running.
John E. Is it H? Which one is the older Sununu? He
E,
was
I think. John
the
E.
chief of
Sununu.
staff of
Yeah.
George H.W. Bush. He's the one who did who started the deregulation of the banking industry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, people will tell you anything.
But
They're
there
politicians.
are regulations there. Don't get me wrong. The state has regulations,
don't
there,
enforce
but they're not
them.
enforcing them.
They
That's
don't
the
enforce
issue.
them.
They're not
And
enforcing them.
People that have a laissez-faire political philosophy are not going to enforce them. But I will say, like I said, in California, which is very much a regulated state, you'd be bamboozled there too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
Probably with the mortgage fraud, though, something straight out like that. you
Yeah.
know.
I'm just amazed though that you can't get anyone to prosecute your ex-husband for.
I know, isn't that
I mean,
wonderful?
for forgery. I mean, that's a
It's
big
considered
deal.
civil then. It's not a fraud. It's not. They're not.
it's-
They're
if
not
it's-
taking him criminal.
Well, they should have, and they didn't.
I would think
Right.
the forgery,
Granite
because the
State
forgery
Credit
part's
Union
criminal,
could have.
clearly,
That's
right?
criminal, yes, because
Yeah.
even the Attorney General's office said that it was criminal, and they
Yeah.
turned it over to the federal prosecutor, and they won't touch it. They
That's
said no.
stunning.
It's not a federal. You're not going to get a federal because it's a state-chartered bank.
Yeah.
It's
Wow,
just the
that's-
way, I hate to say this. It's like when we're dealing with my friends, the Bernie Sanders crowd.
Yeah.
It's like, I have to, I'd be a socialist, but Christ was a communist. Jesus.
Well,
I mean,
you know-
but I have to live in this world.
If
Right.
anything, people are going to watch this and hear this today, and they may think twice about going to the credit union to take out a loan or put their money in, won't they? So
That
for
would be
any justice
true.
I'm doing, maybe I'm doing a justice by spreading the word.
Well, a comment that
Right.
I made to Janet while you were gone is that you always hear people talk about credit unions. It's so much better than a bank. Always go to a credit union instead of a bank if you can. And this is making me think. Well, that's not always the case. Clearly.
But see, there's rules, and you don't want
Yeah.
to play by them. You sign the thing, and you get your money. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. See, Mike is Don Quixote. He's tilting at those windmills, And like I said to Matt before, I was there with Mike.
Yeah.
You can't. Like when I'm talk to people like veterans. I have a group of veterans I'm with. I say, Jesus, don't go in court. And you can't. I went into court and said something. You can't do
Really?
it. It's not movies, A judge They already know what they're going to do before you even go in there.
Oh, I
and
know.
when you open your mouth,
Mike Gill already brought that up
boom,
to the attention.
yeah.
Do you remember that?
And
the
then you'll
first
get
hearing I had,
nothing,
the decision was already made out by the attorney, and Mike caught that, and then the judge threw it out.
It was.
I got a handwritten decision from the judge. Everyone's like, you should put that up on your wall. A handwritten decision.
How did you find that? Was it they made a mistake?
Yeah, they made a mistake, and
They
they handed
slipped.
it to me by accident because
Oh,
I
really?
asked for a copy of it. I looked at the lawyer and I says, aren't I legally supposed to have whatever you hand the judge? I've been doing my homework, okay? I spend countless hours in front of my computer looking up RSA laws and case laws and going to the law library. Let me tell you, it's not difficult to be your own attorney. It's not. I've already won them twice in court.
Yeah, but
all right, it's not that hard.
Yeah. What's hard is getting what you want.
Well, then
You've
just
changed
fight it.
what you want to another thing.
Well, all they had to do was not make me sign the confidentiality paper, and they could have just taken the loan off the house. That's all they had to do 3 years ago when they didn't want to do it. The only reason they're not even taking it off now. Now they're just fighting me because they know I'm going to have to sell the house, so they know I can't afford it anymore.
So I assume they haven't approached you again since then with that same or a
but
similar
in court
offer?
they lied. Though in court, the lawyer came right out and said it's on the tape. Oh, well, we made her several offers, and I looked right at them. I says, where are they? I says, you didn't make me anything.
Well, it sounds like they made you one.
They
right?
made
They
me
made you that
one.
offer,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But you know what? They
one is
should have
not
taken the
several.
loan off the house. Period. That was their own mistake.
Right.
That was their own mistake.
Yeah.
They should have checked all the paperwork. You know, they should have done their job. They should have checked his license. His license would have shown that he had lived in Bow.
Yeah, that part is stunning.
You know, they should have checked.
They didn't take photocopies.
They didn't do anything.
Photocopies of
you
his
don't
license
know the whole
and stuff?
story. His application said that he owned and lived at my house, and that's what he wrote on all the documents and everything he signed over. He said he lived at my house.
Anybody like law firms stuff can simply, or a bank can simply go on. There is you can go online and find out who owns a house.
Yeah.
It's very easy.
Well, unfortunately,
It's part
the
of
deed
our
was
databases.
the deed was in both of our names because he hadn't taken his name off the deed yet. Even though it was still my house and I had bought it from him, the deed hadn't been switched over yet because he had just left it there and he used it to his advantage. So instead of saying,
but you hadn't changed the deed.
right, and neither had he. So yeah, so he should have said, it's not my house, I'm just using it as collateral. He didn't say that to them. He said, oh no, I'm living there. That's my house. This is my residence.
Right.
And do you have that, you deposed them and they admitted to that?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I have it all on tape. Watch it on YouTube. I'm
Well,
all over YouTube.
But then again,
you think it's incredible. To me, it's not.
but then
That's
again,
sad.
Well,
That's
it's funny.
sad to think that we're still getting away with that in this day and age.
That's
That's
why I
sad.
didn't want to become a lawyer.
Well, it's like I say that's incredible, but then the next thought that pops into my head is, well, then again, why wouldn't they just admit it if they know there's no consequence? Because the system is so rigged the way it is.
It is.
Yeah.
And I found that out. It's a very rigged system. Nobody gets a fair shot at the law. And
Well,
it kills
everything's
me.
rigged.
It kills me.
Look
No,
at the
it's not.
look
The
at the
medical
elections.
field is not rigged.
Are you kidding?
I'm not kidding.
You've
Because
never heard of
his
malpractice?
girlfriend's a nurse and I'm a nurse and the medical field and the nurses level
I'm
are not
related to
rigged.
nurses. The healthcare industry.
We
is
get into
pretty-
big trouble by the board of nursing if we even breathe the wrong way. So don't
Yeah.
ever say that we're rigged, because no, we're not. And the rest
Oh,
of
I'm
the,
talking about the healthcare industry.
No, I'm not
together.
talking about
yeah.
the healthcare industry.
Yeah.
I'm
Not the
talking
people.
about.
Oh,
you
you're
know,
talking about
banks
individual
and
people.
individuals. I mean,
Oh,
we're
people,
not rigged.
nurses,
I wish I wish lawyers and judges had the same standards as us in the medical field. They may better run country.
You cannot debar. You cannot get a lawyer disbarred unless they actually do something very bad against somebody that has to be politically powerful, or
Really?
which means very rich with political power. You can't disbar an attorney.
Really?
It's impossible
I didn't know that.
unless the powers that they want you disbarred,
Okay.
or you piss off somebody like Kennedy, Kennedy's or somebody.
I guess that makes sense.
Mike
'cause-
Gill doesn't have power, does he? Even though he's wealthy, And
Yeah, well, he has the
he's
same
filed
problem.
Malpractice.
He has the same problem Janet has as far as finding a lawyer to help him. It's very difficult. I mean, for different reasons. With Mike,
Right.
it's like no one wants to.
No one wants to touch it. But
Yeah.
with me, a majority of them don't want to touch it either. I only found 2 that wanted to touch it, and they knew I couldn't afford it, so they gave
Right.
me an outrageous startup thing. So I was like, you know what? The heck with you. I'll do it on my own.
Yeah.
Doesn't take a rocket scientist to be an attorney to know your RSA
But-
laws.
Yeah.
Right, and my sister could have been an attorney just like me, and she went through all sorts of laws, and it turns out not to make a damn bit of difference if you want a certain outcome. You see, Catch-22, the great military novel. It's the best novel ever about the military, about the absurdity of it. There was only one catch, And that was catch-22. And what was the catch-22? Yossarian is a pilot, and the colonel keeps making more missions. In real life, you went back after 25 missions, flying, because the bomb, it was so dangerous and everything. Yeah. But he wants to become a general, so it's getting up to like absurd levels, and people are dying. But he keeps asking Dr. Nika to ground him, because if he's, I'm insane, you know. And Dr. Nika says, well, you know, if anybody goes up in one of those, they have to be insane. And so he says, well, it says if I'm insane, you have to ground me. He says, yes, but you have to ask me. So I'm asking you to ground me. Then I can't. And he says, why? And Dr. Nika says, if you ask me to ground you because you're insane, then you're not insane.
Right.
And then he said, you know, boy, they made a movie of it too. With Alan Arkin was great as your Sarah. And he said, geez, that catch-22, that's some catch.
It's almost like the back in the olden days, that movie, the sitcom MASH, where the doctor went around in the nurse's outfit, remember? Trying to
Corporal
pretend
Klinger.
He was insane.
Yeah, it was Klinger. Yeah.
But he's not. You know?
But he's not, you know?
Right,
But
right.
he's still,
Because you're
every
not
episode
insane.
he was still in the dress, right?
You're not insane
You're
if you
not
want to get
insane.
out of this slaughter and everything. But we should. So you're caught in a catch-22.
But I shouldn't be.
Yeah. No, you
and
shouldn't.
this state should be ran a lot better than that. And these banks should be, the laws are there and they should be enforced. We're made to follow the laws, and so shouldn't everybody
One thing
else.
I'd say Mike Gill's exposing, but other people, it's just a badly, the banks here and everything, securities and everything, very poorly run.
It's terrible.
Poor regulation.
Yeah.
But see, last thing I'll say, you buy a lawyer for their influence.
Yeah.
Why? A lawyer's just going to turn around and say to me,
Well, it's
well,
too
we're going to
late.
give you this confidentiality.
It's too late for you.
Yeah, 10 grand.
Yeah.
It is, so I'm just going to fight it and just see where it goes.
Well, and to your credit, I mean, you have one in court. I mean, you successfully
Right, I do
sued
have
your,
one in court,
your
and I
ex-husband.
yes, I did, but I can't get a penny out of him because the
Right.
judge won't enforce that, so
Right.
that's a joke.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, he walked on that one, you know, Mr. Wonderful over there.
Now, if
and I still may get the trial against the credit union. I'm waiting for that notice to see if I did have credibility enough in that process to have the trial. And I didn't ask for a judge
jury
either.
trial?
I asked for a jury.
Yeah.
That's smart. But does he owe you anything in child support, or was
Oh
that
no,
that?
he has to pay that because he'll
That-
go to
that's
jail.
Right,
for.
that's the
That's
one
a
thing
bad
they
one.
will
Oh, yeah,
enforce.
that's the one thing they will enforce. They don't care if he bank frauded and
Yeah,
did
he can
this
forge
and
your
that.
name and
He can
everything,
forge
and they
my
don't care,
name and
but-
take my house. They don't care, but he's got to pay that child support.
Yeah.
I was just asked by somebody, an elderly person, do you have any kids? I said, no. He says, but are there any you don't know about? I said, nowadays, after it was the law in the Clinton when they did the welfare reform,
Yeah.
you'd know if you
You
had
would
some.
know.
Because
Oh, yeah,
they'd be
yeah.
after you for the child
Yeah.
support.
Right, right.
You know. Yeah.
Wow. So where does everything stand now? Like, what's the next step for you in all this?
I'm holding my breath, praying to God that I actually get the trial against the credit union, or they can still come after me at any point and just offer me a deal. And we
Yeah.
can sit down like human beings and give me a reasonable deal. My ex-husband also stopped paying on the mortgage,
Yeah.
and they have threatened foreclosure on the house because he stopped paying on the mortgage. He hasn't paid his mortgage payment in about 7-8 months to a year now.
See, I'm surprised they don't just go ahead and foreclose. That surprises me.
Well, that's
On you?
On me, yeah, because they can on the house because it's collateral.
No, they're not going to do that.
They already threatened me to. They already sent me the letter telling me that they could.
How much time did they give you?
They didn't. They just said that they could do it at any given point.
That's a positive thing on your side, that they didn't do it.
I don't think they will because I've already have too much exposure out about it.
I would say that. What's the chances? Why wouldn't you get a jury trial?
Because the judge would
Well, you
say
don't,
no.
You don't know if you're going to get a trial
Haven't
at all.
you
I
filed
don't
for a
know.
new judge?
No, I'm going to keep this judge. I'm going to see what he says because not only did they break state laws, they broke federal laws. So if the judge down here doesn't do anything about it, I'm going to file it under federal. Predatory lending goes two ways. It can go federal or state, even though it's a state chartered bank. And I can also take it to a federal judge saying that the state judge didn't do his job and that it was a biased decision because not only did he do me and my ex under Granite State Credit Union, he did Granite State Credit Union against me, and now he's doing me with Granite State. I mean, it's like I was telling him, I have one judge for the whole tree.
Right.
And Mike Gill said, and I didn't like that Mike said this, but Mike did say that Judge Anderson handles all of Granite State Credit Union's problems.
Does that surprise you?
That's interesting.
I was kind of hoping it would surprise me, sir, but I don't know at this point.
A judge
I just
is
don't
everything.
know. The judge is
Yeah.
everything.
Oh,
This
yeah.
judge is
How you pull a
everything.
judge? Some places they have the rota, and they will rig it And they, I should use the clip on that. I'm a big movie buff. The almighty they.
Yeah.
But they can. You get. Oh man, I can tell you some stories.
So anything,
should write a novel or a
somebody else told me I should write a book. Somebody else, in another state senator that called me that was actually a retired attorney is watching this too. She's a state rep, and she actually called me and she said, "There's a book in this."
Why isn't
she goes, "You're an inspiration." Well, she's retired because she's a state rep now. She says, "There is a book in this, Janet." She goes, "You're an inspiration to all of us." She goes, "Most people would have caved and folded." She goes, "You're out there fighting like a demon." And I said, "This is my house.
Yeah.
I've lived in this house 15 years. I said, this is my home. It is listed on Craigslist, and the description of the house, it doesn't say it's just a house for sale. I literally went into full
sell your house
I have to sell my house. I can't afford it."
Jeez, oh.
Yeah.
See, that's why.
Hey, I'll write a story. I have a column.
Yeah, there you go.
That would be great. Thank you. But I'm selling the house now. You also don't understand that I lost my oldest son.
Oh.
Yeah, you missed that part.
Yeah, you missed that part.
Court.
In family court. He actually tried to go after both of my children to make sure I would lose the house completely. Then he would have to pay child support.
Right.
And instead of getting two, because my youngest came right out and told him, and, God forbid, I know some child support is going to call me out on this one. My youngest went right to him and said, "If you take me away from my mother, I'll burn the house down with you in it." And he backed right off.
Yeah.
That was the end of it. But he was able to manipulate my oldest, and he did get full custody of my oldest. And the judge, I even handed
same
this.
Judge?
No, this was Judge Weaver in family court. And I actually went in front of the family. If you look on Aaron Day's page, Aaron actually taped me in front of the family board when they did that HB whatever law.
Yeah.
My son actually testified on that, and so did I. And I actually handed out Judge Weaver's decision. And one of the refs was beside himself. He wrote in that decision, point blank, it's very clear that Mr. Goad manipulated the son Spencer to hate his mother.
Yeah.
And I lost my son. Lost my son.
When you say he has full custody, does that mean you don't get to see him at all?
At all. I have a restraining order against me because of my anger issues.
Now, where'd they get that? Did you have
because
like,
I am angry.
Well,
I'm bullshit.
Oh, can't say that on here. That's all right.
We didn't even have Tom on this.
I know, right? We're on a delay.
Hey, you have a right.
I am angry.
I do bull expletive.
That's my
we have
son.
Expletive.
We have a call. We'll see who's on the line here. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Hey, Matt, this is Norm.
Hey, Norm.
Hey, this young lady, I'd love to have her come on my show and talk more about her experience with the government and what's going on with us.
Yeah.
I think it's a great story, and I think it should be exposed to other people.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'll do it. I'll do it.
You
can find me on Facebook if you want and just contact me. I take all the messages.
Yeah, I can connect you.
Are you going to do it today, Norm?
Yeah, I can do it at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Well,
are you around at 5?
I could be, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. It's right here. It's in
Norm
the same
has a
place.
very popular show.
Okay, yeah, I could be here. I can stick around.
Well, there you
Are
go.
you around at 5, or will I be come on? Because that other guy has to leave at 5.
Oh, perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, when are you going to have me on to talk about? When are you going to have me on to talk about mysticism, Norm?
Yeah, she's being victimized by the wonderful government. So we'll see if we can get that squared away, okay?
I do have state reps, though,
Thank
and
you, Norm.
senators that are helping me. So don't.
Good.
It isn't all of the government. There are some really good state reps and senators out there, like Kevin Avard. He's been huge.
Yep.
He's the one that started this with me, with the Speak Up New Hampshire.
But he's against regulation.
He has made calls, and he has been trying
But
to
he's
help
against
me.
regulation.
Well, I guess obviously now they all have to step up and decide what they really want.
Yeah.
Frank Elderbert, who's running for governor, has been playing a huge part in this. Like I said, he went with me on this last hearing. He was there.
Yeah.
So, and he's been making calls. I mean, and there's other senators and reps that I don't know if I should put their names in there because I don't know if they would want me to. But
Go ahead.
Yeah,
We're famous for this.
Yeah, give them
I
credit.
don't want to be famous for that, but they know who they
John's
are.
getting a call on the
Peter
hotline. Is it really?
Peter White, we're on the Matt Connarton show now. Do you have anything to say in defense of yourself?
Looking for the jacket?
Nope. Oh, yeah, bye. I guess Norm doesn't want me on a show. He said he was going to be in April, remember?
Did he? Yeah, I remember him saying he was going to have you on. Well, you've been on. You were on before.
No, I've
right?
never been. Yeah, well, they brought me in for a bit because I was
That's what it
speaking.
was. Yes, yes.
But you'll have a lot of fun with Norm's fault.
Okay.
yeah. No, it's fun. I was Norm's co-host for 7
Yeah.
years.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
It is
Yep.
a great, fun show to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but I mean, I do have people.
You can
that
get
are
your future.
helping me.
He'll know the case, the deposition.
That's right.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll have a prediction for you.
There you go.
We need to get Dave Colapinto on, like your show, to talk about the case Murphy v. IRS. You know, it's a very interesting case. But one thing we found out is that a lot of people, you have to be wary of getting help for people that have an ideology, because they can lead you in place. I'm not saying necessarily you or this.
No, I understand.
That is a place you don't go. Murphy v. IRS was the biggest attack on the IRS and their ability to impose taxes on people.
Yeah,
And so the people that are against the 16th Amendment, saying it's unconstitutional, were part of like the group and the coalition. But the 16th Amendment is constitutional, and we'd see people that would get bamboozled and they'd lose everything. So you got to be very careful with the people that, you know, and the advice.
That'd be an
and
interesting
everything.
show to do. We have we'll get this one last call in. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's on the line?
Oh, John, baby, I'm so sorry. You can come on with it if you want.
Okay.
There you go.
And I'm going to be on Chris Herbert tonight talking
excellent.
about the mayor's budget.
Excellent. There you go.
It's going to be a lot more exciting on your show, although I love Chris.
I'm sure it will be. I'm going to come in with a mini skirt and a toupee.
And a hula hoop.
I hope you
I'm
shave,
not using a hula hoop.
I hope you shave those legs, Norm.
Oh, all righty. But John, yeah, come on in with this lady, John, okay?
Okay.
There you go.
We can complain about the government.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye, Norm. Thank you. Oh, cool.
The thing is about, you know, people say politics is a political spectrum, and they have it on the line, but it actually goes, you know,
In a circle. Yeah.
because the power to tax is the power to destroy.
Absolutely.
But everything's got to be balanced, you know. You don't want out of control regulation.
Right, but
Right.
you have to have
But you
some
have to have
regulation.
some, so-
And the regulations are there. The problem is nobody's enforcing the regulations because
That's it.
they're afraid. They're all afraid to step on everyone's toes. Too many people in the state know too many people, and they're afraid to say, you know what, maybe you just did mess up, and maybe you need to fix this.
It's probably fear, but the fear is in such back of their mind. It's like social conditioning.
Right.
You know, part of the thing when you become this is that they call it log rolling in publishing. Log rolling is, I'll praise your book if you'll praise mine.
Well, I have
Yeah.
to wonder if
Yeah.
the banks even realize that this attorney's loving this because every time he has to fight me or even send me a letter, it's
He's getting
cha-ching.
publicity.
He's getting paid.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute.
He
They're
wanted-
getting
he
the money
wanted
and I'm
you at his
getting nothing.
place.
He wants me there. He's like, he's going
Right,
home and he's
$4.50
drinking a
an
beer
hour.
and margaritas downstairs saying, you know what? I got me a fighter here. I'm going to take this all the way.
right.
I'm
He's
going to
up.
be rich.
Yeah.
He's drinking Johnny Walker Blue at $200
Yeah,
a bottle.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm drinking
that's
tap
right.
water and he's drinking Johnny Walker Blue, right?
That's
because
right.
I'm the fighter. But you know, we
You're in
have
his
the last
prayers
say.
at night.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's true.
I know it is. I know it is. God, please don't let her
Yeah.
lose this. You know,
It
let her keep
sounds like-
going.
There was a thing there, I think, that they haven't foreclosed.
No, they haven't yet.
Yeah.
They
If
If
haven't.
you can get the jury trial.
If I can
Yeah,
get that jury
that's the
trial,
key.
it's going to be great. Yeah, and everyone said that. They said that was the best move I could have made. I didn't ask for the judge. I asked for the jury.
And when that jury sees you there representing yourself, you know, you're
Oh,
a
yeah.
mother, they're going to love that. They're going to love you. That,
And,
I
and
hope
it's
that
not
works out.
Contact
even.
control
It's
your
not
emotions.
even. Oh, I
Right.
can control them, and it's not
Yeah.
even the fact that any of this I can make up. I have like 100% proof about every single
Right.
thing I'm saying. I
Right.
have a stack at home this high, literally this high of all of the proof.
And then the judge is going to instruct the jury, well, you have to do to the letter of the law. And, you know, it says that she has this here. Oh,
I'm not
no,
gonna
it's
let
just
you see it.
You know, and then you win, and then on appeal, another judge.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
You know, and
That-
it's terrible because like I said, I am selling the house that I've built and that I've lived in for 15 years because of this, and I'm heartbroken.
Yeah.
My son's I'm not gonna lie. No, my son's not heartbroken. He's happy as heck because we're moving down south and he's just gonna motocross
Oh, where?
race.
North Carolina?
Well, yes.
Where?
Yes, we haven't decided yet. We're thinking the Goldsboro area. My son, my
That's-
youngest,
you'll like it.
my
Yeah.
son's actually a motocross racer, and
Huh.
we can't advance up here without this mortgage and him not paying me back and all
Oh,
the crap
yeah.
that's going on. And
And as a nurse,
yeah,
if you're an actor or a musician or anything, which means, you know, you'll probably be unemployed, always marry a nurse. 'Cause wherever you go, she can get a job.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, I'm gonna open my own little coffee shop. I'm gonna get out of the medical field. I'm just gonna start over. But it's still heartbreaking that I'm losing a house that I've had for 15 years, and this is the end of me and my son.
We've got to wrap up, but before we do,
It's a new beginning, though.
Yeah. Is there anywhere online that people should go to kind of keep track of what's going on with you, everything?
It's on YouTube under Janet Delfuoco.
Okay, you should spell your last name for everybody.
It's Delfuoco. The two last hearings are on there, or they can even go on, if they want to see the whole story, it's Speak Up New Hampshire with Kevin Avard.
Okay. Right.
And I'll get a story up about you.
Thank you.
And by the way, that was nice, that shout out you gave to Brian Brody on Facebook.
You know, my blood pressure is through the roof. I actually suffer from degenerative disc disease, and I have a fibromyalgia and all these other, I have a lot of medical conditions, so and because the stress has been making it worse, my doctor can't believe how bad I am right now. And Brian,
you need to meditate.
Well, Brian has actually been working. I actually put him on my bed at night next to my head, like he's sitting there talking to me, and I'm actually falling asleep now for like an hour or two at night.
Yep.
So he's working.
Yeah, Brian Browdy of All Natural
Yeah,
Being.
it is helping me a lot.
Yep.
So yeah, I did put a shout out to him to thank him for everything, to take his time for this.
All right, well, we got to go. Janet, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Good luck to you. And Janet and John Hopwood will be on later on Norm and Friends on right here, actually. And then I will be back at 6 p.m. with the Honorable Gary S. Hopper for Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. So thank you both. And
burn the studio, though.
Talk at you all later. Bye-bye.